Yeah, so my apologies. So on behalf of Vox, he's actually had to work today, and he couldn't get out of it. He tried. So we should nominate someone else to chair the meeting.
Units.
Yeah. So I need Rome.
Have we begun? I'm not hearing anything. Can you hear me?
Yes.
It is very faint.
All right, and then guard.
Graymail is here.
Rhodey is here.
Eleutheria.
We're both here.
That was really funny. No quarter. Hearing none. Ulfram Vikings.
Halligan's here with both.
Okay. Berserkers of Jomsburg.
Here for both.
Kingdom of Gwyneth.
Mort here for Gwyneth.
King Dross is here.
Justigeist.
Shank's here. Vox should be here.
And Indamar.
Orloff's here.
Lace is here.
Cool.
Like I said, guys, Vox is at work, so he's going to try to listen in and participate as much as he can.
So this is Graymail. I am willing to chair the meeting if nobody else wants to step up. I am a former magistrate, so I have run meetings and elections before. I'm not insisting on it. I'm just offering myself to keep things moving. Lade has also been magistrate more than once.
I have no problem letting Graymail run it if he wants to.
Eleutheria nominates Graymail to chair the meeting. Rolf Rung seconds Graymail from Proctor today.
Okay, thank you. Do we have Dominus able to hear things yet? So we should. Okay, looks like Shank is trying to get him going, so we'll hold off for a moment.
Does anybody know if somebody from No Quarter planned on attending?
So this is Graymail. I'll reach out. I think I probably am Facebook friends with.
Well, I see
Thanks.
Dominus on my screen now.
Should we be chasing people?
This is
Here is
Luda. I
Dominus.
sent a message to Fikes in case she's receiving them right now.
Okay. Dominus, we saw you for a moment.
Yeah, I'm don't hear any sound for some reason. I'm trying to figure it out.
Okay. I heard you just then. Are you hearing me?
I can hear you just because Ericus was kind enough to put his cell phone right by his speaker so that I can hear
Oh.
that way.
Gotcha. Plugy, but
But I'm not getting any sounds for some reason.
down at the bottom left of your screen, is the headset clicked that says deafen?
Okay, thanks. Not, oh yeah, okay. Oh, you know what? I wonder. Hang on a second. Here we go.
So while Dominus is getting
Yeah, I had it
squared
on
away,
on my phone and on my that's probably the issue there.
there was a discussion before the meeting started, but per the bylaws, there are two positions which are currently running unopposed, and that is president and treasurer. And the bylaws state any candidate who runs unopposed shall assume office beginning on August 1. And the president, Stone, said that his interpretation of that line in the bylaws is that there is no need to vote on those candidates. So I'd like to ask if anyone wishes there to be a discussion on that point. The president does have final interpretation of the rules.
Point of order.
Go ahead.
He has final interpretation of the rules of the game. The magistrate has final interpretation of the bylaws, right?
Correct, but since we do not have a magistrate at the moment,
But we will have one. We will have one elected, and if we vote to have them take office immediately,
no,
they would. Huh? Oh, sorry.
I-
If we vote in a
magistrate, that was good now. I'm
Okay.
not hearing anything.
Okay. If we vote in a magistrate and vote for them to take office immediately, we would then have a magistrate. But yes, I'm just throwing that out there.
that is correct. And how I would propose to organize the meeting, and please feel free to offer counterpoints to this, is that we'll have presentation and discussion for the three positions which are where there are multiple candidates from any candidates who are present. And when that is done, I would like to ask Ursus to describe his presidential plan. Even though he's running unopposed, his presidential business plan is key to how the chapter is going to run for the next year. Anyone wish to modify that plan? Okay, so Stone, why don't we begin with that? And one other point of order, this is Graymail speaking. We should all identify ourselves each time we begin speaking anew. Go ahead, Stone. Okay, thank you. Any questions, concerns, criticisms, or wisecracks from the representatives?
Rhodey of the Guard, I move that information also be posted this meeting on the general chat.
This is Dominus of Rome.
There you go.
Thanks. I have some concerns about people running for office right now. The whole structure of Dagger and DBGA is in the process of changing. And right now, people are running for offices and they're going to be holding offices. They're likely to change. Doesn't it make more sense to hold off on elections until that dust settles? So the people running for well-defined offices with well-defined responsibilities that aren't subject to change?
I'm gonna. May I speak?
Go ahead.
Yeah, sure, I was done.
Counterpoint to that is until we have new bylaws, I'm assuming we're going to be acting off the current bylaws.
Mhm.
I do agree with your sentiment. And actually, I do have a proposal on that for later in this evening.
This is Graymail. Any other discussion?
Yeah, this is Rhodey. I think I'm going to sort of support Stone in this because I also think we need time to allow the new, the electees, the candidates to transition once they're elected. And since the bylaws aren't going to be completed until, after they're supposedly taking office, that, they're like to give them time to ramp up to that.
This is Luda. As somebody who is helping rewrite bylaws, I would just say that I would encourage anyone who's currently running for any position to remain flexible as far as what their responsibilities might be. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Hopefully you heard what I just said. If not, I can repeat.
No, we heard it.
Thank you.
This is Barloff, if I may. The one thing that Aratari needs the most right now is magistrate. All the other positions are currently filled and subject to change, as Dominus put out there, but we definitely need a magistrate, so that is definitely one that I would insist we vote on.
Excellent.
This is Dominus again. Could I please pipe in with a couple comments? One thing, I agree with that. We do need a magistrate immediately. The other thing is, my big concern too, it's not just the responsibilities, it's also the optics. People misunderstand these positions as positions of power. And if we're seen as grabbing at them and electing our own into office, the optics are terrible. We can't afford bad optics right now. We have too many as it is. I think we need a very measured progress. I think we need to step back a little bit. I think we need to let the process kind of take care of itself. We can't afford anything that looks even vaguely power grabby. That's over.
Okay,
This is
thank you,
Alex
Dominus. This is. Go ahead.
Thank you, Graymail. Like Stone said, and it was mentioned multiple times in last month's meeting, we have rules that we still need to follow. We have tried to be flexible by moving these. I don't think it's a power grab. I think it's making things run until we change them, and then they will run differently.
This is Mort. I don't understand how these positions aren't just going to transfer to strict Aratari chapter leadership, as the bylaws are rewritten regardless. So I think I'll forward it.
This is Barloff, if I may. Aratari is technically run by the Aratari War Council, chaired by the magistrate. The board of directors runs National Dagger here, and the magistrate is the only one who sits on both boards. The board runs National Dagger here, and those are the positions that we'll be looking at filling. I don't think we need to make any changes to the way Aratari itself is run, because right now it is on a democratic system where everyone gets to, all the units who have voting rights get to vote on proposals and everything else put out there.
This is counterpoint.
So this is Graymail. Do we have? Oh, first of all, if you are not speaking, please go on mute because we're getting an echo. Thanks. Do we have a second for Dominus's proposal? All right, excellent discussion, excellent point, Dominus. Let's go ahead with the elections as delayed, and but I think Dominus raises a very valid point about the optics, and we want to make sure that we stay out in front of any optics or anyone who might try to say this is some kind of a power play or whatever. And I think the fact that Stone, you're recording this meeting allows folks to hear exactly what the discussion was.
Rhodey here. Can I just suggest that maybe the candidates might want to address that issue when they're giving their when they're speaking to us about their position? Maybe they can mention their thoughts on that.
Very good. Very good. All right, so this is Graymail. I would like us to move to presentations by the vice presidential candidates. Sil, I'd like you to go ahead. Okay, we can certainly do that. All right, so for magistrate, I see Timarchos, Mace, and Lear as the candidates, but I only see Mace in attendance. Are Lear or Timarchos on this call? Hearing none. Mace, I'd like to give you 3 or 4 minutes, if you need that much, to discuss what you would do, how you would handle being magistrate. You have the floor.
Right. I don't think I need 3 or 4 minutes. I've done the job before. I think with everything coming back to some sort of normalcy, it's time to have battles again, see each other in person, not do this over the phone. I do have a couple small things I'd like to implement to help boost volunteer as far as things like check and heralding goes, stuff like that. But that all falls into letting our volunteer head medic, head weapons checker, and head herald participate in battles at Ari's expense for day battles. I'm up to negotiating, letting them camp for free, but we'll talk about that at a later date. That's really it. I want to get back to fighting again. I want to change in a positive way if they need to change, and that's all I got.
All right, thank you, Mace. Does anyone have questions for Mace?
Rhodey here. Mace, would you be willing to pick up the mantle of magistrate effective immediately?
I would, but there's probably a bylaws interpretation that I feel you should all be aware of before you make that decision. And Ursus, it's got to do with you and your leading of another chapter. I personally see that as a conflict of interest. And that's something I want you guys to know before you decide if you elect me magistrate at all, if it would happen immediately or not.
Mace, this is Graymail. Can you expound a little on what you just said?
Sure. I do believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, please, anybody who knows different, I do believe Ursus is a chapter leader of Tardis Invictus. As such, he voted at Ragnarok War Council. Becoming president of the Aratari would give him Aratari's vote at Ragnarok War Council. And what was that? I personally see that as a conflict of interest. Comparatively to being an official in another organization, especially when I do believe in the post he made about his presidential candidacy, he does view Dagger here as multiple organizations. But yeah, correct me if I'm wrong.
Thank you. Ursus, is that accurate? Are you a leader in Tartarus Invictus?
Yep. I was that when I was elected vice president.
So, Mace, the bylaw rule that I think you are citing reads as follows: holding office or having a voting position in a competing padded weapons combat organization represents a conflict of interest with the Aratari and DBGA. A Dagger Here participant with a conflict of interest may not hold elected office in DBGA and may not serve on the Aratari War Council. Is that?
I believe that's the one where I do not have bylaws in front of me. My biggest concern is the and there's been a lot of things lately giving the Aratari until the bylaws change. And I do know coming down, but it looks like we got 2 votes.
Mace, you were breaking up there. I couldn't make out all of what you said.
I'm sorry, I'll hold it a little closer. It was just a quick reference back to the optics discussion we've been having, and I believe that the optic we have 2 votes at Ragnarok War Council. Out there before you guys make a decision to elect me at all, or have me take office immediately, because I don't believe it would really matter if the elections happen and I don't have that interpretation. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Also, if I may, Tamarcus is here now.
Oh, very good. So, Dominus, did you want to speak?
I have you
get you
unmuted. Yeah, I got him unmuted.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, go ahead, Dominus.
Okay, good. Yeah, it was letting me take mute off. All right, thanks so much. Yeah, that was really intended to. I hear you. There's nobody should have 2 votes, 2 realms votes on the Ragnarok War Council. That's just bad form altogether. But that competing organizations clause was really about the Darkons and Algestrions and SCAs and of the world. It wasn't about other Dagger Here chapters. I don't see those as competing organizations. They're Dagger Here.
Correct.
As long as they're Dagger Here, they're not competing. But I hear your concern, man, and it's well intended, I'm sure.
So, this is Graymail. Ursus, I'd like to hear your your comments on that.
Sure. I think it's important to say that this was brought up during the last time you were President, Graymail, and the consensus of AWC at the time was that chapters are not rival organizations. They're not competing organizations. We are actually all working together. As for War Council votes, you can send other people. And obviously one person can't sit there and vote for two different chapters. That would be silly on its face. So I don't think going to War Council is a primary job of the president. And since, as so many have acknowledged, this job holds a lot of responsibility outside of Aratari, currently, at least. I don't see it as a negative, but I understand if people do. But this feels like something that was already settled previously, and that would be a resettling of it, which, I mean, totally within the magistrate's abilities. But the counter to that also is that there's really not, we'd have to go through an entire election process again, too. And the one question I had on that was, what if we go through the elections and then you win, but you're not magistrate till August 1st? Would you then say I couldn't be president?
May I answer that?
Go ahead.
I don't know that even if this is my like super final, I've thought about every angle. I don't think I can tell you can't if you're elected. You know what I mean? I think that's why I wanted to do this before this election happens, or before even saying, you know, I mean, I can't just be like, well, I'm magistrate now, and I think we got to kick Ursus out. I don't know that that's in the bylaws to do.
Mace, this is Graymail. I agree with you that that is not in the bylaws. Ursus, from my perspective, and I apologize, I'm kind of crossing hats here, speaking more as a unit rep than as the chair of the meeting. The optics of having one individual who is the head of two different chapters doesn't play well, in my opinion. And so I would like to know, would you be willing to step down from the Tartarus Invictus role if you were elected as Aratari president?
No. I mean, in all fairness, there's going to be minor crossover there because I will be stepping down before RWC, so the 2 votes on RWC won't matter. But I'm stepping down from Tartarus Invictus in the fall once we can have elections again.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
I'm not willing to step down right now because my chapter doesn't really have mechanisms due to COVID to handle that.
Okay, gotcha.
May I respond?
Go ahead.
Ursus, what you just said alleviates all my concern.
Thank you, Mace. Demarchus, go ahead. Yes? And he was asked the question of whether, if he was elected magistrate, would he be willing to start the job immediately because we have a vacancy. And his response was to raise this concern about an apparent conflict of interest, or whatever, however else you want to refer to it, with Ursus. And that has just been alleviated. So Mace, I think, is now saying that if he was elected, he would be willing to take the role immediately, and there wouldn't be question. The first thing that he would be pushing for would be to determine the legitimacy of the situation with Ursus being on 2 boards. Is that accurate, Mace?
Nerds.
100%. Thank you.
I heard another voice there. Was there another point that someone wanted to make, or can we go to Marchus, and I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, discussing his candidacy? Oh, good. So, Tamarchus, can you give us 2, 3, 4 minutes about, if you need that long, why you would like to be magistrate and why people should vote for you? I'm seeing him, but I'm not hearing anything. Are you muted?
Should be able to talk.
There we go. Heard something.
Ah, there we go. I have to hold the space bar. Okay. Can everyone hear me now?
Yes.
So, a little bit about myself. My real name is Timothy McLennan. My game name is Timarchos. I live in Annapolis, Maryland. I play with, I'm right in the heart of Aratari. I'm also part of a unit that has been recently founded. We're tiny, we're still growing. We really only were able to go to a couple of events before COVID happened. But as for, despite not having a lot of experience with this organization, I tend to think that I'm a fairly fair-minded individual. I think about things carefully but quickly. I think that I reasonably have good skills at meeting management, directing verbal traffic, so to speak. And I think that I could do a good job of keeping things moving smoothly and getting business done. Does anyone have any questions?
Brody, go ahead.
This is Graymail. What unit are you in?
So, let's see here. Some people may know Sikander, John Paul, who's moved to Annapolis from Connecticut. He and I are the co-founders. We initially founded the unit under the name of Syracuse. And then he wanted to change the unit name to Experimental Philosophy under the theme of Syracuse. It's complicated. It's now is not exactly the time to go into that, but some of you may have seen us on the field, green and purple Greeks.
Thank you. Rhodey, you're next, and then Shank.
Yeah. A headache on my sign-in sheet. That's what you guys were. I just had a question. We, at least in the past, have averaged about 12 or so battles per year. Do you see yourself being able to attend most or all of those battles?
Most certainly. All, possibly.
Do you see yourself scheduling 12 or more battles per year for us?
I was not aware that creating events was part of the responsibility of the magistrate.
Well, you tend to control the calendar.
Yeah, if people say, oh, we want to have this event, I can certainly look at a calendar and say, this is when it would fit well.
I guess I'll keep going if nobody has questions. I guess it's for.
This is Malice, I do. May I speak?
Please do.
All
right, cool.
Sorry, I was saying go ahead on mute. My bad.
So just as a general, I was also magistrate for many years ago, and just so Tamarcus knows, just like a brief rundown, it's not about if somebody wants to have an event. We have events every month. It's your job to make sure they happen, schedule them, make sure you have a head weapons checker, head herald, head medic, and make everything run. You're essentially the event coordinator for our chapter.
Alrighty. I can certainly, delegating to people is certainly within my skill set, making sure that there's a, as you say, a head herald, a head weapons checker, a head medic at every event. This is definitely within my skill set.
And also, if your heads don't show up, it kind of falls on you to make sure the job still gets done.
That makes sense.
Did anyone else have questions for Tamarcos? All right, thank you. Lear, can you come off mute and describe what you would bring to the table as magistrate? Admins, make sure that Lear is able to come off mute, please. Lear, for what it's worth, Tamarcus mentioned that he had to press the space bar.
There?
Oh, it looks like
There
you're
we
off
go.
mute.
Yep. Did that work?
We hear you.
Check. I heard someone say you can hear me, but I can't hear myself, so I'm just going to assume that is correct. Okay, my name is Lear. If you've been in Daggy here for 30 plus years, you probably know who I am, or if you've only been around for the last few, that's been me too. I took about 20 years off to raise some kids. I'm a grandpa now. I certainly was aware that it was my job to schedule battles. I was hoping for about 15 a year. My intent is to make the major groups of Aratari and travelers who come to Aratari take responsibility for the core of the majority of the battles to take some of the pressure off the magistrate, because between the magistrate and the president, I feel like they do a lot of the work. I am certainly willing to work with anyone else who wins the position and help them whenever they can't, and help them schedule battles. I don't tend to hide my opinion much, so if you want someone who's not just going to say things flat out the way they are, I'm not the person who holds his tongue well. I try to be political, but I can also be terse. Other than that, I signed up because I wanted someone to do the job, and it looked like no one was gonna. I'm glad we have some candidates now who are online and responding. May the best man win.
Thank you, Lear. Lear, do you see the question from Shank
I
in the chat?
I can't listen and look at the chat. I'm at work on my phone.
Okay, so the question is, will you be attending and running every Aratari battle? And what is your experience in running battles/events?
I've been running events for the Company of Gwynedd, the Free Company of Anglesey, the SCA, Markland, for about 30 years. I've run a 900-person event. I run a 100-person event every year for Force Wars. I've run many Dagir battles that were not Aratari or just, large day battles. That's about it.
Any other questions for Lear?
is it, this is ready, is it possible to ask a question of all three candidates, or did you want to just do them one at a time?
You can certainly ask a question of all three candidates.
I just had a question for you guys about how you would foresee moving forward with check-in and how that was going to be run, where we continue, are we going to continue to try to do the computer check-in? Did you want to go back to paper check-in? How do you see moving forward with waivers and check-ins in the future?
This is Lear, if no one else is talking. I like the paper check-in for everybody's name so that they can just sign their name and go. And then if I find that I'm missing someone on the list, then I'll go back and waiver them, especially when there's a line.
Marcos, same question.
Yeah, I have a mixed opinion on that, and I would be open to talking with people about it more. On the one hand, paper check-in means that things would move faster at events, but on the other hand, it does create a necessary later job for somebody to go through and type all that information in. Whereas if it gets typed in at the check-in table, it's just a one-step process. I see advantages on both sides, and I think that's a conversation that I would have with maybe 2 or 3 people who have strong opinions on it.
Thank you. Mace?
So as far as check-in goes, I like whatever the people responsible for doing check-in are cool with. So the secretary and the treasurer, I mean, right now, at least for the time being, that's their purview. So if they want to use paper, paper's cool. If they like the computer's cool.
Yeah, I actually didn't think that was really the magistrate's decision.
So this is Graymail. I have a question for both Lear and to Marcos. Rhodey asked this of Mace before I think you guys joined the call, and that is, since we are currently without a magistrate, if you were elected, would you be willing to begin your term immediately instead of in August?
Oh, that was part of the conditions for last May. So yes.
Thank you. Marcos?
Yeah, I think I could do that.
Excellent. Any other questions for these candidates? Am I correct that we will be doing voting in chat in a different room? Is that we're going to AWC chat votes? Is that the correct protocol, Stone? Very good. And Rhodey, you'll be casting both votes for the guard, since I'm chairing. Yeah, I see Guard, Rome, Indamar, Gestigeist, Eleutheria. Second vote for Indamar, Gwyneth, Ulfrong, Berserkers, and second vote for Gwyneth. It looks like it is unanimous for Mace.
Thank you, guys. I would definitely be willing to accept help from Beer and to Marcus. If you guys want to do it, we can make it all happen.
Yeah, man, I'm all over it.
Excellent.
Certainly happy to help as I can. Yeah.
Do you need someone to volunteer to run a July battle?
I intend to have a tentative schedule ready for people to go over next week.
All right, awesome.
Outstanding.
Hey guys, I'm at work, and that was really the crux of my business here. Whatever you guys decide, you can use me as a resource. If you guys need some physical resources, I have that too. Anybody who needs to contact me, just hit me up on Facebook, and I'll get back to you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. Have a good one.
So this is Graymail. Unfortunately, something has changed on my screen, and I now have I've lost the chat for the AWC meeting chamber when I tried to go back to it. I don't see where to scroll up.
See a ping?
Say again?
Do you see a ping? I tagged you the channel.
I do not see the ping. I apologize for slowing things down here, folks.
That's right. Graymail, if you move your mouse over to where everybody's name's listed in the AWC meeting chamber, and just scroll your mouse wheel up.
Right, I'm not seeing that. What I have on my screen is a Skype-like display of names and avatars for everybody. That's
Should be further up under the text channels tab.
okay. I got it. I got it back. All right. Sorry about what, Ericos? Get off my lawn. Very good. So, Secretary, is Scamp here? Secretary, we have, my understanding is Luda and Scamp are the two candidates. Okay, thank you for doing that. So, Luda, would you please take a couple of minutes to tell us why folks might want to vote for you?
Yes, just to check you all can hear me?
Yes.
All right, thank you for that confirmation. Hi everyone, I'm Luda. For those who don't know me, I've been a member of the Guard since 2004. Since pretty early on, I have been in a somewhat leadership capacity, taking on the responsibilities of the treasurer, although please don't elect me to treasurer of the DBGA because my skill level is not that high. But I've been involved with the Guard since 2004, hold a rank there. I've done various things such as run the Garb exposition at Ragnarok, taught Nell binding classes, and participated in lots of Guard shenanigans. But anyway, so I would like to be the secretary because I believe that I have the experience to not only run it well, but help modernize it. In my real life, I am the supervisor of a three-continent spanning federal government branch and the DoD. So I have some organizational skills. Also, I also have a great interest in modernizing how the position is run. For example, I've spoken with Rhodey. I want to look at how our chapter contracts, or whatever form that may be, are handled. And then also, many of you may know, I have sort of spearheaded the bylaws rewrite committee, along with other folks like Sil. And so I have a strong interest in essentially making the DBGA national level. Now, how does that work for me and how I see who gets elected today? Well, it's very possible that I think that we will be the Aratari chapter leadership in the future. Do I know that to be certainly the case? No, that's mainly going to be up to the bylaws committee run by as voted on by the national members. So anyway, I'm pretty flexible when it comes to that. And finally, I would like to say that even though I'm mostly a person who would prefer to do arts and crafts these days, as opposed to sit on the as opposed to fight on the battlefield, I think both are important. And also, I would say that I have also recently started making acquaintances with folks across the national level. So I think that also gives me a benefit as far as the secretary position as the current duties still stand. So, all right, that's it. If anybody has any questions, I'd be glad to answer them. Thanks.
Going once, going twice.
Luda, what are your thoughts on modernizing the contract? Are you trying to make it an electronic form or do electronic notary? What are you envisioning?
Yes, I was thinking electronic form, electronic notary. I also want to look closely at the language. I've heard concerns about how protective of the DBGA, how much protection those contracts really afford the DBGA. So I'd like to examine that closely as well. So, yep.
Any other questions for Luda?
I feel bad. I'm the talky person today. Luda, this is Rhodey again. I guess I'll ask you what I asked the magistrates. If you're going to be responsible for check-in with the treasurer, what are your thoughts on how to check in?
I like efficiency. I am a process person, so I would want to try and figure out the most efficient way to do that. And if that means, people sign in quickly on paper and then we enter the names afterwards, if that's the most efficient, sure. If it's the other way around, we'll do that. So I'm pretty flexible on that.
Does Rhodey have any other questions for Luda? Anyone else?
No.
Right, then I move that we move to vote. Go to the I don't see Scamp, so Scamp isn't able to present their case. Is there anyone that would like to speak to why Scamp would make a good secretary? Right, then, shall we go to... people are already casting their votes. So go to AWC chat votes. All right, thank you, Stone. Luda, may God have mercy on your soul.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
No, next is okay. So, Ericos, do you wish to speak to what you will be doing as treasurer?
One thing that I plan to do in the past, I would put together statements that I would send to the all of the BOD members of the DBGA, and I would bring hard copies to events or available to anyone who wanted one during check-in. In the future, I plan to, anytime I have an update, plan to post it online or have somebody post it online for me. I mean, I would like to ideally use the discussion boards on daggerhere.com. That's a pretty friendly place to post stuff. Anyway, what I want to do in the future is just make that more public and make sure everybody has access to all of the information at all times. The fact that people were questioning whether or not the funds being properly managed and so forth, I get it. If you don't have that information, you want to know that it is being managed properly and that you have access to everything at all times. In the future, I'll just make sure that's always publicly available.
Any questions for Ericos? Very good. Ericos, per the bylaws and per the discussion earlier of the interpretation of the bylaws with folks running unopposed, there's no need to cast a vote because you are the only candidate. So congratulations.
Gray mail, if I may.
Go ahead.
Since I'm magistrate right now, right?
And I was just thinking I should hand the running of the meeting over to you.
No. We don't need to do that, but I agree.
Thank you. That makes it cleaner. I appreciate that. All right, Vice President Sill, can you come off mute and discuss what you bring to the table for VP? I thought Sill was an admin who had magic powers to make this stuff happen. Shank or Alexander, can you make sure that Sill is able to unmute?
Bill was server muted. I've already unmuted him. Yeah, lower left-hand corner microphone next to your portrait.
Not hearing you yet, Sill.
Test.
Keep speaking, Sill. Not hearing you.
Give me a second.
there, heard that.
Well, apparently Discord wants me to do push to talk instead of voice activation, which is kind of annoying. Let's see if I can change that setting back so I can actually read my notes. Okay, can you hear me? Test, test.
Yes, go ahead. You have the floor.
Okay, perfect.
You have the floor, Sil.
Well, first off, I want to thank you all for your time and your consideration. My name is Sil. I've been doing Dagger here for about 10 years. I am in charge of the unit Kuldar. All the green skins running around various events. Well, not most of them. So I am, as you know, running for vice president. And when I was here last month, I heard the concern in your voices about the bylaws needing to be changed. And to be frank, that concern has given me a lot of strength because there have been numerous times where I thought of just resigning and withdrawing from the race. And then I would go back and remember how you guys like felt that it was time for the bylaws to be changed, and that gave me the resolve to keep moving on. But if elected, there are problems that need to be fixed. I feel that our social media team has become openly antagonistic towards the community, and it's not just a few concerned trolls fighting against the mods, because we have 20 chapters that just recently left, and the social media policy seemed to be their biggest concern at the time. So I feel like we need to take corrective action on that front. And if elected, the first thing I'll do is go through the moderation team and policies and revise the policies and review the staff that are currently in charge of social media and make changes accordingly to better serve our community and to help reestablish some of the trust that has been lost over the last couple of years. I also will intend to help restructure some of the social media. I think Discord is becoming more into its own. I mean, we're using it right now for this meeting, but Discord isn't where people go for their day-to-day social media consumption. I feel like in order for Discord to be a successful platform to move over to, we really need to do things, have programs that make people want to come to Discord every day. And to that end, I will be running community nights. I will help structure the Discord to be a nexus of information for both events, chapters, and units. And then I'll also make Discord a place for people to just be able to come in and socialize on a day-to-day basis. But that doesn't mean I'll just throw out the other social media platforms. I feel like Facebook has its place. Twitter, which has been vastly underutilized, has a place that I want to make more use of, as well as Instagram. But social media isn't the only thing that I'm running on. As you know, I'm part of the bylaws committee, and whether I win or lose this election, I will remain on that committee and help see through the bylaw changes that you guys will be voting on in the coming months. In fact, we will be having our third meeting for that bylaw committee tomorrow that I will be attending. So with that said, I'm not promising to fix all the problems in Dagger here. What I do promise is to give people the tools to resolve the issues that we have today and potential issues that arise in the future. I once again appreciate your time and consideration, and I look forward to serving you and the community as a whole.
Thank you, Sil. Questions for candidate Sil?
I've got one, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Sil, you said you're Urkeldar, correct?
Correct.
Is that Delaware?
We're pretty scattered. Right now, I'm in New York City. We have a couple of people in Pittsburgh, people up in Boston.
Okay. It's coastal East Coast. Okay.
Yeah.
I want to make sure I was going to that with somebody else. That was it. Thank you.
Additional questions?
This is Rhodey. Sil, how do you see marketing Dagger here? How do you see broadening our distribution Dagger here to people who aren't familiar with it?
Yeah, so I see that as a two-front task. The first, on a national level, create a general strategy to boost our media presence, creating some videos or written articles that spotlight some of our community members and some of our events, and sort of help sell Dagger Here to someone. You know, when you're explaining what Dagger Here is to just some stranger, I've never gone to any of the official Dagger Here media and gone, okay, look at this, look at this. I've always gone to someone's specific, you know, video that they made for YouTube or my own Facebook pictures to show people. And I want to change that. I want Dagger Here as an organization be one of the first things that people show on their, you know, on their phones when they're talking to their friends about what Dagger Here is. The second front of that is also on a chapter level, and I want to go to the chapters and ask them if there's any social media advertising efforts that they want to make, and if I can obtain any funds, do so and direct those funds onto a local level. Otherwise, try and help bolster their social media presence as much as possible, either through like official press kits or any other social media tools that the chapters would desire.
Thank you. Ericos has a question.
I'm not an AWC rep. May I speak?
I'll yield my.
Hi, Erica. So just one question. I'm not an AWC rep, but I'm asking how you would maintain Aratari equipment, which is one of the responsibilities of the vice president.
Yeah, that's a very good question. I would probably end up deputizing someone in Aratari to help administer that equipment, with the goal that when the bylaws change, I don't think that'll be the responsibility of the president anymore. So I will help that deputy. I'll work with the rest of Aratari leadership to make sure that anyone I deputize would be a good person to continue on with that responsibility after I'm done.
Additional questions for Sil? All right, thank you, Sil. You can go back on mute. And Shank, tell us what you would bring to the role of vice president.
Hello, Dagger here. My name is Shank. I am General of Justice. EK's number 2. I've been participating nonstop since 2014, having started my Dagger here, quote-unquote, career since 2005, I believe. Throughout that time, I've gone from someone who fights to becoming involved in how the organization works. I'm currently the head of Facebook for the social media team. I'm host of Gates of Fire and the head of security for that event as well. At Ragnarok, I also volunteer for a troll shift, volunteered for security. They didn't need me at the time. Basically, I'm here to help. I've always been helpful in nature, and I've informed myself on how to help. Do you have any questions for me? I think that's a better way I can assist any doubts or
questions?
Shank, this is Rhodey. I guess I'd ask you the same question. How do you see promoting outreach and recruitment for Dagger here?
Excellent question. All right, so while being on the social media team, I've recognized there's a lot of the platforms that we don't use or are underutilized. Our main focus was Facebook as of 2017-18. We've gone through various rule sets there, different engagements, responses, replies, and we've learned a lot of things. Basically, I do want to use Discord for the discussion panel portion as it's easier to share files. You can control the flow of traffic more or less versus getting spammed on Facebook. And Facebook itself has a lot of issues. You won't get notifications at times. People get blocked, this or that. It gets kind of messy, but I think Facebook is best for posting official business or like events, business things, and any like statements from the BOD basically through the actual business page. I do have a plan, if elected, to go through those platforms again and see which ones offer the best response in terms of like videos. I've seen a few TikTok videos show up, and those have been met pretty well. I've seen some YouTube videos show up highlighting battles or events. I think getting clips of that will help our outreach. Long-winded, but that's what I got for you.
This is Graymail, and I have a question for both candidates, actually, and that is, assuming that the bylaws rewrite goes through as planned, and new positions are set up, would you plan to run for the VP of the new DBGA, or would you stay as the VP of Aratari? So Shank, I guess since you have the floor, I'd like you to answer first, and then Sil, I'd like to hear your thoughts.
All right, Shank here. Basically, whatever helps keep the wheel turning, I'll do what's better for the organization. So I'm very flexible, if that answers your question.
Thank you. Sil?
This is Sil. My intention would be to run for a position on the new national DBGA and resign from my Aratari position. But with that said, I would make sure that my Aratari duties would be fulfilled up until I resign, and that I would have a successor named and approved by the rest of the Aratari leadership.
Thank you, gentlemen. Mort, you had a question, I think, for Shank. Or a question, anyway. Go ahead.
This is Mark with Gwyneth. Thanks, Graymail. Shank, Sil brought up a point that I have a little concern over as well, and it was how the moderator team online is interacting with the public at this point, and the public's optics of how Dagger here is moderating itself. And I wanted to know if you had any intentions or plans at this point for working with the moderator team, overhauling the moderator team, stuff of that nature, as Sil addressed.
All right, so good point. So when we moved over to the online platform around 2018, I noticed a lot of issues are with admins and moderators. It's a lot of the same issues, different people. The original plan was to reach out to the chapters, the active chapters, and approach them and see how they wanted social media run. I know that kind of got buried at some point, and we had COVID, so we kind of took the ball and created a framework to build off of. I'm aware that people are unhappy with some things. I understand that. I've personally answered a few remarks respectfully. But my plan would be to reach out to the chapters, see how they would like that amended. I think we do have a good framework. It just needs input. I think it's unfair for me or like two other people to just create something and be like, here, these are the rules. So I would love any feedback that the chapters want on it. We can work from there.
Thank you. Any other questions? for either candidate? Hearing none, I move to vote. Please go to the AWC chat votes window. I don't know who this guy Sean is, but he's gotten some votes.
Sean is an autocorrect ghost. I apologize.
Yeah, I understood. I'm just making fun. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 1, 2, 3, 5. So, someone check my math. I see 5 votes for Sill and 11 for Shank. Very good. Shank, congratulations. And Sill, I think with any luck at all, you'll be able to run for vice president again in August, right?
Yeah, we'll have to see how the committee decides how to split off.
Yeah.
Yep.
Very good. So, Ursus, can you walk us through your presidential game plan?
Sure. Could everybody hear me clearly?
Yes.
All right. So essentially, there are 2 primary things that need to be done in the near future. The main part of that is the restructuring. I intend to continue to pay attention to those meetings, reading the minutes, following up on that. I personally am already attempting to contact chapters that are on the rolls who have not responded and have not become a part of that to see if they want to be responded to it. I really think we need to get as many people involved in approving of whatever those changes are as possible, as many chapters. Dagger here is a chapter-based organization. So I think that's the main big thing coming up. The other thing is, and this has been true for a long time in my opinion, Dagger here is Ragnarok and Ragnarok is Dagger here. There's been a lot of stuff going on with Ragnarok, not being able to happen for a couple of years. And I think it needs support from DBGA, from Aratari, from basically everyone to make sure that our next Ragnarok will happen nicely. Now, as president, I have no direct say in how that stuff happens, but there is that is where a huge part of, I think, our efforts should lie, both as coming from our Atari perspective and from DBGA perspective and from Dagger here as a whole, is making sure that our next Ragnarok will be as successful as possible. And so I do want to put as much effort into that as possible. as for step by step what's going to happen, my main method for doing that would be working with the vice president to make sure that they have the resources to help advertise Dagger here. That would be making sure our website is running properly, helping to get a new website team in place, rather than putting quite a bit of weight on a person who doesn't really have a strong connection to Dagger here and who has done a great job, has been very helpful, but we really do need a strong team in place to help run that and make sure our website's working, to make sure all of our various web enterprises are working and churning out a message, a positive message about Dagger here in general and about coming to our events and enjoying the game. I think that there is, as I said in my business plan, an unprecedented chance people want to get back out and do things. And so people who have been cramped up playing video games for over a year now, video games become less of a competitor to us in the near future as people really want to get outside. And I think working with the vice president elect who I have a good relationship with, I think we can really push out advertising in that aspect. Does anybody have any questions along those lines?
This is Arodi. I just out of curiosity, what do you think we could do as Aratari to help with, like you said, Ragnarok is Dagger here is Ragnarok. Is there anything you would see Aratari in particular doing to help that?
Well, I think the most important thing, and this is true of almost everything we do that affects Greater Dagger here, is that we need to ask the people who are actually doing it what help they need. So I wouldn't be presumptive. I think it would be presumptive of me to say we could do X, Y, or Z. But I do think that there is room for people to volunteer, to coordinate volunteering. I know that not having an event for 2 years wears your staff pretty ragged. People didn't volunteer for an event 3 years from when the last time they volunteered for. So I know there's going to be a lot with that over the next year, but advertising, I think, is a big part of it. Having good events, traveling to other chapters. I mean, there's a lot to it, but really it's more about cheerleading at this perspective and then asking what people need and responding to that directly.
Thank you. Any other questions for Ursus? All right, again, as was the case with the treasurer, since Ursus is the only candidate on the bill, he will begin his term in August. Thank you, Ursus. Do we have any other questions or urgent issues that need to be brought up today? Can somebody who isn't Stone or Graymail please make that motion?
I will motion for Mace to become magistrate effective immediately.
Seconded.
Barloff of Vindemar.
Seconded.
Let's do a quick voice vote. Does anyone object to that? And the motion carries. Thank you, Mace. And Stone, thank you for bringing up that point of order. Well done. Go ahead. Who is the one 3/4 candidate that you just brought up? I'm not hearing any other proposed candidates from the AWC. Stone, if someone comes up with a volunteer or a potential candidate, do they have until tomorrow to get that name to you? Okay.
This is Mace. May I speak?
Go ahead, Mace.
I'm nominating Malice for Arbiter.
Second.
Correct.
He just really, really. Oh, he can do it. All right, never mind. He can do it.
Thanks for throwing your brother under that bus, Mace.
Anytime.
Ask him to change the oil while he's under there.
I will accept the nomination. I was just, it was sprung on me just now.
Thank you, Malice. Stone, you had one more point of one more item. Arteris Invictus.
This is Rhodey. Would the incoming president be willing to give somebody else the Aratari vote in the bylaws committee when he steps up?
I mean, just for clarity, my position has always been that there should always be time beforehand to bring things back to discuss. And when brought back, I would presume we would choose who to vote there. So yeah, I have no problem with sending delegates. I think that's appropriate in most cases. In short, yeah. Sorry. There's a bit of interference. I'm not sure what all went through.
Okay. Thank you, Stone. That was you've shown a lot of thought in what you brought up and how you've raised things today. Do we have any other business, or can we adjourn and get on with our vaccinated Saturday nights?
May I ask one question?
Go ahead, Ericos.
Okay, so a little while back, Gwyneth was talking about running clover whales in June, perhaps. And what I would like to see is if they're interested in running that event in June, and we know that the Battle of Teutoburg is going to be in September, I will definitely volunteer if it's desired for us to run a battle. If Clover Whales is going to happen, work around it, but we'd like to run a day event, of course, at Roundtree in July or August, just to make sure we start getting some events on the calendar.
Thank you, Ericos. And this is Graymail speaking for the Guard. We would love to run Coombe Valley in August.
What are the guidelines for masking in Maryland?
I believe they have been completely dropped for all outdoor sporting events.
Okay, because in Virginia, they're not following CDC guidelines, which means masks not required. If Maryland's the same, then we're good. Yeah.
The governor has dropped the outdoor mask mandate.
Okay, to me, it's just I think super important to start getting some battles on the calendar. And I know Gwen had offered to run God darn it,
Clover Whales.
Thank you. I don't know why that just escaped me, but anyway, I know Mace was also talking about getting a proposed schedule out next week, and that'd be really awesome. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks. Stone, you had one other point?
Stone, anything that you're putting together in terms of a bylaws rewrite should include that.
This is Graymail. If I may suggest, how about we chew on that question for the immediate future and start thinking about it, and then hold an AWC meeting to discuss that.
This is Mark with Gwyneth.
Go ahead.
I feel that we have to be cognizant of the timing and ensure that we have Aratari bylaws ready to go into place at the same time as the national bylaws are amended.
Correct.
This is Lath. May I speak?
Go ahead, Lath.
I remember way back when we set up these bylaws, and back then we ran perfectly well with these bylaws for our Aratari before we actually started getting big and becoming national. Our bylaws might work just fine just the way they are. We just change it from Dagger here to Dagger here Aratari, or just Aratari. We might be fine. Just my 2 cents.
Thanks, Lath. This is Graymail. There are some things that would need to come out of the current bylaws, such as the arbiter, which is a national position. But again, I think that this is a huge and important can of worms, but it's something that we're not going to solve tonight. So, Stone, is your question, what is your... Okay.
May I answer that?
Go ahead, Mace.
So Stone, you don't need AWC permission to start a committee. It's under the president's purview, and any discussion regarding the change of AWC bylaws, or I'm sorry, AWC, DBGA bylaws should include, as Ericos and Mort both said, bylaws for the Aratari, since you're talking about pulling vital positions out. It should all be done simultaneously, and you don't need our permission to start that committee. Then I vote.
I guess I second that. Stone, that's a great idea.
Excellent. Well, I would like to thank everybody for showing up and speaking civilly and having a smooth meeting. Do we have any other comments or issues that need to be addressed? Does anyone wish to move to close the meeting?
Barloff, I propose we move to adjourn.
Seconded.
Does anyone object to closing the movie? And I want to echo the things that Dominus has just put in the chat. Thanks for stepping up to all the candidates, and thanks to the current BOD for operating on difficult terrain. That's well put, Dominus. All right, the meeting is adjourned, and Mace, you get to run the next one.
Hey.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Take care.
Hey, Mace, real
Take care.
quick.